Welcome to today's deep dive. We've actually pulled these sources specifically for you today because we know you're watching the whole AI landscape shift right now.
Yeah, everybody is watching it.
Right. And you're probably wondering where your software or your strategy or just your career in general fits into it all.
Oh, absolutely. It's the big question.
Because imagine you've spent years building this highly specialized tool on top of a massive tech platform. You have thousands of users. You have a thriving business.
A great ecosystem.
Exactly. And then, literally one Tuesday morning, the platform announces a native, completely free AI assistant that on the surface at least seems to do exactly what your software does.
It is terrifying.
Existential panic,
Right.
right? The immediate question is, well, what do you do when the landlord builds a free version of your house right next door? Do you fight back by building a better AI, or do you just flee? Do you abandon the ecosystem entirely?
It really is the defining strategic dilemma in software right now. I mean, the intuitive reaction to just view the platform's new AI as this mortal enemy that you have to defeat, it's usually a fatal miscalculation.
A total trap.
Yeah. We are looking at a paradigm where survival depends entirely on understanding the architectural difference between a general-purpose orchestrator and a specialized reasoning engine.
And that distinction is exactly what we are unpacking today. We're using two incredibly insightful sources for this. First, a strategic essay from the Discount Prime blog titled Sidekick Pulse versus Third-Party Shopify Apps.
A really great piece.
Yeah, super detailed. And we're looking at that alongside a set of leaked internal strategy notes from the Agentic Commerce playbook. So our mission today is to figure out the definitive playbook for surviving this platform AI shift.
And, while our sources are deeply rooted in the Shopify ecosystem and e-commerce mechanics, the underlying architecture we are dissecting here applies universally.
Right, it's not just about Shopify.
Not at all. This is a masterclass in positioning when a monopolistic platform introduces a disruptive conversational interface. It's really about how value migrates from the graphical user interface down to the execution layer.
Okay, so let's unpack this. To understand that migration of value, we really need to start with a catalyst, right? The event that triggered all this panic.
The winter 2026 release.
Exactly. Shopify's release of Sidekick Pulse. For those watching the space, this was a massive deployment.
Massive.
Sidekick Pulse is this merchant-side AI assistant. So instead of clicking through, 5 different menus to build a promotional campaign, a merchant can simply type or just speak a natural language command.
Right. They just ask for what they want.
Yeah, they can say, run a 15% off site-wide sale for the next 48 hours, but exclude the clearance section and limit it to customers with a high lifetime value.
Which is a complex query.
Super complex. And the AI parses that intent and configures the store instantly. Reading that update, my immediate thought as an app founder wouldn't just be, it would be structural panic.
Oh, totally. You'd think your business is over.
Right, a panic about top-of-funnel acquisition.
Right.
Because if the platform handles the campaign creation step for free, the market for third-party discount apps seemingly vanishes overnight, like poof, gone.
And that structural panic is completely rational, right? I mean, if you assume Sidekick is a specialized discount engine.
Right.
But if you start peeling back the architecture, it reveals something completely different. What's fascinating here is that Sidekick Pulse is an orchestrator.
An orchestrator.
Yeah. It does not actually run its own complex, standalone mathematical models to determine pricing.
Okay, wait, really?
Really, when a merchant inputs that natural language command, Sidekick just acts as a translation layer.
Oh, I see.
It maps the English sentence to a series of GraphQL mutations. So essentially, it's just flipping the switches on Shopify's existing native discount capabilities. It's highly efficient at routing intent, but it isn't generating new off-platform capabilities.
Okay, so it's essentially just a really smart conversational skin over the platform's existing APIs.
Exactly.
The platform didn't necessarily invent a brilliant new pricing algorithm. They just made their baseline tools infinitely easier to use.
Right, they lowered the friction.
But even knowing that, let's be real, the gravitational pull for an independent app developer is to say, okay, we need to compete on user experience. If Shopify has a conversational AI, well, we need to build a smarter, faster conversational AI inside our own app to win our customers back.
Yes, and that reflects that urge to build a competing AI. That is exactly where the trap lies.
Because you can't out-resource them.
You can't. It stems from a total misunderstanding of structural advantages. To understand why building a rival AI is basically a commitment to losing, we have to look at the 3 specific structural walls that Sidekick hits.
And the Discount Prime essay outlines these so brilliantly. Let's get into the first structural wall, which is data.
Right. The context window.
Yeah, an AI can only reason over the context window it is provided. Sidekick only has access to native Shopify data. Orders, basic inventory counts, customer profiles.
Which covers the basics of transaction history, sure.
Right, but it entirely misses the granular, off-platform reality of running a real retail business.
Absolutely.
Like Shopify doesn't natively know a brand's supplier cost fluctuations in real time. It doesn't know warehouse holding cost per SKU or the seasonal margin floors a CFO is mandated for a specific category.
And that off-platform data gap is critical. Because if a merchant imports goods from multiple global suppliers with varying freight costs, the true cost of goods sold is highly dynamic.
It's changing every day.
Right. And Sidekick is completely blind to those external variables.
So what does this all mean? Sidekick is powerful, but it's essentially blind to actual profit margins.
Exactly.
It will flawlessly execute your command even if that command accidentally bankrupts your store.
That is exactly the danger. Any business decision that relies on calculating true net profit rather than just, top-line gross revenue is a decision Sidekick structurally cannot make with high confidence. It can confidently execute the 15% discount you asked for, yes, but it completely fails at the step of telling you if that discount will bankrupt you on a specific subset of products.
It has the power to execute the play, but no concept of the scoreboard.
That's a great way to put it.
Which leads directly into the second wall our sources identify, which is optimization.
Right, optimization.
I guess if Sidekick lacks that dynamic margin data, it inherently fails at complex evaluation. So a merchant might have 5 different promotional strategies mapped out for Black Friday.
And Sidekick can build all 5 of those in seconds.
Right. But it can't evaluate which of those 5 strategies will actually yield the highest net margin based on live inventory velocity.
No, because that level of optimization requires a prescriptive, merchant-specific mathematical model.
It's bespoke math.
Exactly. Shopify is a multi-tenant platform. They serve millions of distinct businesses. Architecturally, they are not going to build and maintain highly bespoke, computationally expensive optimization models for every individual merchant's unique supply chain.
It would cost a fortune.
It's impossible. Their AI is designed to be broadly capable and descriptive. The deep predictive optimization layer is an entirely different engineering discipline.
Right. And then there's the third wall, which is interoperability.
Yeah, the ecosystem boundary.
Sidekick's domain ends at the perimeter of Shopify's native environment. And the Agentic Commerce playbook touches on this heavily because modern commerce isn't just a storefront anymore.
Not at all.
Brands are orchestrating these external agentic product feeds, basically dynamic data pipelines that feed into autonomous buyer networks or TikTok live algorithms or external B2B procurement systems.
It's a huge web.
And Sidekick is incredibly powerful inside its own walled garden, but it doesn't orchestrate cross-channel coherence.
And so when you look at those 3 walls, data, optimization, and interoperability,
Right.
a really clear architectural boundary emerges.
Right.
Sidekick handles the broad horizontal orchestration of the platform, but the vertical deep domain reasoning, that is left exposed.
That's the gap.
That is the gap. This is why attempting to build a competing horizontal AI is futile. You cannot beat the platform at orchestrating its own native features.
But the platform cannot beat you at specialized off-platform reasoning.
Exactly.
Which brings us to the core strategic pivot outlined in the sources. Because Sidekick has these massive structural blind spots regarding profitability and complex data, the winning move isn't to build a rival AI.
No, the move is to cooperate.
Yeah, the winning move is symbiotic. The Agentic Commerce playbook distills this into a brilliant mantra: don't try to be the AI, be the tool the AI calls.
I love that line.
Right. Here's where it gets really interesting. I was thinking about this dynamic, and it maps perfectly onto the medical field. It's like being a highly specialized neurosurgeon.
Okay, I see where you're going with this.
You don't spend millions of dollars building a massive general hospital to compete with the primary care clinic down the street. The general practitioner has the foot traffic. They have the scale.
Right, they see everyone first.
Exactly. Instead, you focus purely on being the absolute best at your specific surgery, and you just make sure the general practitioner has your phone number on speed dial when a complex case walks in.
That surgeon analogy encapsulates the exact technical mechanism we are looking at here.
It really clicked for me.
In the software architecture, the general practitioner routing the patient is the LLM, the AI orchestrator. And the referral network is built on something called an MCP tool.
MCP, let's define that.
Right. It stands for Model Context Protocol. MCP is an open standard that allows an AI model to securely access external tools and data sources.
Okay, let's break down how that actually executes, because it's the crux of this entire survival strategy.
Yeah, let's walk through the user journey.
So the merchant doesn't open the third-party discount app anymore. Instead, they type a complex query into Sidekick. They say, maximize my margin on winter coats, respect our vendor pricing rules, and sync the campaign to our external B2B portal.
A very hard request.
Right. Sidekick begins parsing that intent, realizes it lacks the native capabilities to calculate those off-platform margin rules, and hits a semantic boundary.
It hits its structural limit. And at that boundary, Sidekick actually pauses its internal execution.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it pauses, and it checks its registry of available MCP tools. Because the third-party developer has exposed their pricing engine via this protocol, Sidekick packages the merchant's parameters into a JSON payload and fires it over to the app's endpoint.
So it delegates the math.
Exactly. The specialized app crunches the complex math, evaluates the off-platform supplier costs, determines the optimal discount structure, and then sends the finalized data payload back to Sidekick.
And Sidekick takes over again.
Right. Sidekick then uses that data to build the native discount objects in Shopify and reports back to the merchant.
And the merchant never left the chat interface.
The merchant never even knew the third-party app was involved technically.
The app is doing all the heavy computational lifting, but the platform owns the distribution and the interface.
Sure.
Okay, but let me play devil's advocate for a moment on behalf of the listener. Because this shift seems incredibly threatening to a software founder's ego.
Oh, it's a huge blow to the ego.
Right. If a founder accepts this MCP strategy by quietly becoming a back-end tool for Shopify's AI, aren't they fundamentally agreeing to become a headless, invisible service?
Yes.
You lose the branded dashboard, you lose the daily active user metrics logging into your specific interface. Doesn't that destroy the enterprise value of the software? Doesn't the app just become anonymous plumbing?
It undeniably alters the traditional SaaS valuation metrics, because those metrics have historically indexed so heavily on interface engagement.
Right, time on page, clicks.
Exactly. The psychological barrier you're describing, that ego, is the primary reason small teams fail during these platform shifts.
Because they want the credit.
They hold on to the interface because the interface represents their brand identity. Trying to replace the platform's assistant might look brave to your investors, but you end up spending all your time rebuilding what the platform just shipped for free.
That's a great point.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, if we look at 20 years of platform economics, whether it's Salesforce, iOS, AWS, whenever the underlying platform introduces a dominant native workflow, the third-party tools that integrate seamlessly into that workflow see their usage compound.
Because friction is the ultimate enemy of adoption.
Exactly.
By forcing the user to leave the platform's native AI to log into your separate branded dashboard, you are introducing friction just to stroke your own brand ego.
Precisely. And the alternative to integration is a slow starvation.
Yikes.
Yeah. The apps that refuse to expose their logic to the platform's orchestrator spend all their engineering cycles trying to recreate the native interface. They fight for the same screen space against an adversary with zero latency, infinite native data access, and a total monopoly on the user dashboard.
It's a commitment to losing.
Rebuilding an orchestrator is a massive misallocation of resources for a specialized team. It's so much better to be an invisible, indispensable piece of plumbing handling 1 million automated API calls a day than a beautiful branded dashboard that no one logs into anymore.
Indispensability over visibility. I love that. But that requires a massive strategic pivot. And luckily, our sources don't just leave this as high-level theory.
No, they get very practical.
They provide a very specific 6-month survival plan. Because let's be honest, in the AI space, waiting a year to see how things shake out means you're already dead.
Your ancient history.
Right. So they lay out a 3-step engineering and positioning framework for founders to secure their place in this new ecosystem over the next 6 months.
And the first phase of that framework is the physical restructuring. You have to build the MCP endpoint that exposes the app's core capabilities.
Right.
And this is not simply exposing a standard REST API. A standard API is designed for a human developer to integrate into static code.
Right. It's for humans to read.
Yes. But an MCP endpoint is designed for dynamic discovery and interaction by a reasoning engine. It acts as a rigid digital contract, giving the AI a very specific map of the inputs it requires and the outputs it will return.
Okay, but building that MCP endpoint is totally useless if the platform AI doesn't actually know it exists, right?
Exactly.
It's like installing that dedicated phone line for the neurosurgeon, but never listing the number in the hospital directory.
Yeah.
The LLM won't just magically crawl the internet to find your specific logic,
Right.
which forces us into the second critical phase, establishing a registration pattern.
The registration pattern is essentially the handshake protocol.
Okay.
Once the endpoint is built, the app must actively register its specific skills with the platform's routing layer. This is where you explicitly define the boundaries of your tool.
So Sidekick knows you're available to be called.
Yes, you are telling the orchestrator, hey, I handle complex margin calculations for specific collections, but I do not handle basic shipping logic. This ensures the LLM only delegates tasks to your app that your app is uniquely qualified to solve, which prevents algorithmic hallucinations or failed execution loops.
That makes total sense, which brings us to the third step, and frankly, the most fascinating concept in this entire deep dive for me.
Oh, the documentation.
Yes, because if the AI relies on a registry, it isn't reading your beautifully designed marketing website or your colorful user tutorials. You have to create documentation positioned for LLM discovery, not just human readers.
Right.
Wait, writing documentation for machines? What does that even look like? Are we talking about AI SEO now? How do you pitch your software to a machine?
It is wild, but it requires a fundamental shift in how we structure information.
Okay, break this down for me.
When developers write documentation for human beings, they use analogies, conversational formatting, bullet points, implied context. A human engineer can read a slightly vague paragraph and infer how a tool should be used.
Sure, we fill in the blanks.
But a large language model cannot. An LLM requires explicit semantic boundaries and rigid parameter definitions.
So instead of a friendly paragraph that says, use this tool to easily apply complex discounts, you're feeding the model a strict JSON schema.
Yes.
You have to write function, calculated dynamic margin, constraints. Input must be an array of product IDs. Output will yield an integer between 1 and 99. Overrides existing margin locks. False.
That exact level of programmatic rigidity is absolutely required.
Wow.
If your LLM documentation leaves any room for ambiguity, the AI orchestrator calculates that calling your tool carries a high risk of execution failure.
Oh, so it just skips you.
Exactly. An AI prioritizing user experience will simply bypass a high-risk tool and attempt to solve the problem natively, even if the native solution is inferior.
That is brutal.
Writing documentation for machines means stripping away all marketing language and replacing it with absolute logical constraints. You are defining the state space in which your application operates safely.
It's a completely new paradigm of technical marketing. Your primary customer isn't the merchant anymore. Your primary customer is Sidekick.
Right.
You have to convince the AI that you are the safest, most reliable path to achieving the merchant's goal. And I guess the engineering effort required to make this shift, building the endpoints, establishing the registry, writing the schema that's a bounded, doable problem for a competent technical team.
Oh, the engineering's highly solvable. The true bottleneck here is organizational psychology.
The ego again.
The sources stress this heavily, looking in the mirror, killing the ambition to be the AI, and actively embracing the role of a specialized back-end tool that is the hardest part of the 6-month plan.
Yes, swallowing your pride.
But the apps that make this shift early, the founders who can put their ego aside and aggressively adopt this MCP framework, they will see their value compound alongside Sidekick's adoption.
Because they're riding the wave instead of fighting it.
Exactly. As Sidekick processes millions of complex queries, it will increasingly lean on the specialized execution layers that have made themselves easily callable.
So, synthesizing everything we've unpacked today, the arrival of a native, platform-level AI assistant like Sidekick Pulse is an extinction-level event for third-party apps that try to compete horizontally.
There really is.
The giant has absorbed the interface. For discount and pricing apps, trying to compete with platform AI makes you a slower, smaller, infinitely more expensive version of a free tool.
A terrible value proposition.
Right. But the giant is blind to off-platform data, it struggles with deep bespoke optimization, and it cannot orchestrate complex external networks.
And that is the opportunity.
The only way to survive is to become the execution layer the AI relies on. You isolate the structural limits of the platform's AI, you rebuild your core logic as an accessible MCP tool, and you author rigorous, machine-readable documentation that essentially programs the AI to rely on you.
You give up the dashboard to become the indispensable intelligence operating underneath it.
It's a powerful lesson. And honestly, it extends far beyond software architecture.
Oh, absolutely. This is for everyone listening.
Yeah, for you listening right now, even if you aren't a software developer, this is a masterclass in positioning. Whether you are managing a logistics chain or running a creative agency or analyzing financial markets, a massive generalizing AI force is coming to your industry.
It's inevitable.
And the instinct to protect your current interface, the way you currently interact with your clients or your team, that instinct will be overwhelming. But don't try to outmuscle the disruption.
Map the blind spots.
Yes. Find its structural limits. Find the highly specialized optimization that a broad AI cannot handle, and position yourself as the indispensable missing piece.
Taking that a step further, the businesses and the careers that actually survive the next decade won't be the ones that build the most attractive interfaces.
Right.
They will be the ones that build the most robust, trusted mechanisms for machines to interact with their specialized knowledge.
Hand Goliath the better sword, and make sure your signature is engraved on the hilt. It completely reframes the competitive landscape.
It really does.
But as we wrap up, there is one final lingering implication from this playbook that I just can't shake. We spent a lot of time talking about optimizing software for LLM discovery, right?
Right, writing JSON schemas instead of human-readable tutorials.
Yeah. If AI agents like Sidekick become the primary users of software interfaces, making the decisions and reading the documentation on our behalf, in the background, what does that mean for the future of user interface design?
That's a huge question.
If the execution layer is entirely decoupled from the human, will the specialized enterprise software of the future bypass human aesthetics entirely? We might be entering an era of pure, invisible machine readability, which really makes you wonder, will your next customer even have eyes?